Hi guys, you're welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, you're welcome, and then if you're a returning subscriber, you're also welcome. Thanks for stopping by, and thanks for always coming back to watch my videos. My name is Oluwatosin, and this is So with Tosin. In today's video, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make this beautiful pencil dress, or how to make a beautiful pencil dress with drape at the front, as you can tell from the caption of this video. So I'm going to be working with this beautiful London crepe fabric. Then I have my measurements already. I'll be using a pair of scissors, chalk, and then of course my tape rule. So without further ado, let me jump right into it. So I'll be starting with, this dress has half cuts, so I'll be starting with the half cut, and then this pattern paper is what I'll be using to draft the pattern for the lower part of the dress, because of the pleats, the drape like effect at the middle of the lower part of the front panel. So now I'm starting by cutting the upper bodice, which is the half cut. Then I would not forget to check the nature of the fabric I'm working on. Whenever I want to cut, I always consider the nature of the fabric I'm cutting on. So this fabric is a little bit stretchy to a particular side, and the other side is not stretchy. So right now, this is me measuring the bust, because when you want to cut half cut that doesn't have a princess cut or any form of that, you consider the highest measurement between the bust and the waist. So I'm considering the highest measurement between this client's bust and waist. And again, I'm so particular about the stretchy effect of the fabric, how much is stretchy, so that I will know the allowance I'm adding, so I will know if to even deduct from an actual measurement, so that the dress doesn't get so saggy after shaping. Like, it just fits perfectly and stay very firm on the body. So right now, this client's bust is 36. I'll go ahead to measure 36, and then I added 10 inches allowance. The 10 inches includes the 36 I'm measuring for front and back at the same time, and then the 10 inches includes the sewing allowance and the zip allowance. Then I measure the half cut. A half cut is 15. I measured 16.5. Then I went ahead to cut it out. After then, I proceeded to measuring her shoulder. Her shoulder is 7, which is 14. Then I added half-inch sewing allowance. I measured her armhole. Her armhole is 17 also, but I used 7 initially at this point. Later, when I'm shaping, I'm going to use the actual 17. So I curved the armhole. I measured her bust 36. I added sewing allowance. Then I also measured her waist, which is 31. Then I added sewing allowance. I always love to use 1.5 inch sewing allowance, because some of my clients are always like, I want big allowance, I want big allowance. So I use 1.5 sewing allowance. I don't use 1. Then I proceeded to measuring the neck. It's a round neck, very high round neck, as you can tell from the picture. So I measured 3, that's 6, width of 6, and the depth, that's the neck depth. At the back, I used 1, and for the front, I used 3. So initially at this stage, I chalked front and back together. I cut front and back together out. I cut the armhole, I cut the shaping. Later, I slanted the shoulder also towards the armhole side. So later, I put the back aside, and I went ahead to work on the front by just removing the remaining 2 inches for the neck from the front. And this is just me trying to like mark it so that I can easily differentiate the right side of the fabric from the wrong side of the fabric when it's time for me to sew, so that I don't strain my eyes too much. Now, moving to the lower part of this dress, I'm working with this pattern paper first, so that I can be able to slash and spread to get that pleated effect at the middle. So I brought out the length I needed. I proceeded to measuring the waist, which is 31. I added 1.5 sewing allowance. Our first hip, that's a skirt waist, I consider it when I'm sewing a fitted dress. So our first hip is 35. I added 1.5 inch. Then our actual hip is 40. Of course, you know I'll divide my measurement by 4, which is what I did in this video. All the measurements I divided by 4, because my clothes is on fold of 4. Then I added 1.5 inch to the hip measurement, which is 40 also. Then I went ahead to like shaping the pencil part because she doesn't want it too pencil. I used 36 at that point. Her hip is 40, the pencil part is 36. Then I just proceeded to cutting it out. So right now I'll have to like place this on my fabric to cut out the back panel first for the lower part of the dress. I added zip allowance and I just went straight to cutting it out. It's not something serious. It's just to place it on the fabric you are using for the back, and then you had zip allowance, and of course where the slit to be, then you cut it out. So the next is I went ahead to open up the fabric so that it would be easy. I marked where I want the pleat to stop. I used 12 from the waist downward. I used 12, and then I just went ahead to draw straight line. This line gives me clue on where the 12 stops. So after then, guys, I'll need to like slash the 12 inches at the middle. I don't know if you guys understand. I open up the 12 inches at the middle just like I did in this video. Then I proceeded to marking where I want the slash to be. I used 1 inch interval, like 1 inch in between. So I just proceeded to mark the 1 inch from that point to where the 12 stops, after which I went ahead to slash it out. I slashed it out and I placed it on the fabric I'm using. I spread it the way I want. I'm supposed to pin each of these slash, but I didn't want to waste time. I just pinned where, like the limit where it's going to stop. I pinned the upper part, so I just know that that's the highest part. I don't have to really pin the one after it. I don't know if you guys get, but that's it. I also pinned it down so that when I'm cutting it, the fabric doesn't stretch. So after which I went ahead to cut it out. At this point I have something looking like this. Hope you guys are understanding me. So after cutting it out, I have something looking like this. This is it without the pattern paper. As you can see, the pleat is already there. I stopped at 12 inches from the waist downward, and the pleat is not on the shaping side. It's just at the middle, just the way I want it. So I'll proceed to my sewing machine to create the stitch. After then, guys, I went ahead to cut the pencil sleeve. I'm still going to make a detailed video on how to cut pencil sleeve using freehand method. All I did was to measure an armhole, which is 17. I put a mark at that 17. That gives me the quantity of fabric I'll be needing to cut the pencil sleeve. So then I proceeded to measuring the length. Since this sleeve is a long sleeve, I used 21. I added 1 inch allowance for folding the down and then for attaching it to the shoulder. So I measured 22. So the next I will do is I'm going to measure the round sleeve at each point, at the long sleeve point, at the wrist, at the 3/4 point, and then at the short sleeve point, which was what the exact thing I did in this video. A round sleeve at that point is 8. I measured 4. I added 1.5 inch. Then when I come up a little, the 3/4 point, she's 11. I measured 5.5. I added 1.5 inch sewing allowance. Then the biggest round sleeve, that's for the short sleeve, she's 12. I measured 6 because my fabric is on fold of 2. Then I added 1.5 inch sewing allowance. Then I connected the 3 points together. Then I also went ahead to cross-checking the armhole to be sure it's actually up to 17, 8.5. Then what is remaining is the sewing allowance. It's that easy, but I'm still going to make a detailed video talking about how to cut a pencil sleeve using freehand method. So after then I cut it out from the rest of the fabric. I realized that it wasn't cuffed enough the way I wanted it to be. I cuffed it. Then I reduced the one at the front with 1/2 inch. So when I'm sewing and I see that part, I know that part is the front, and then the other part is the back. Like you can see, like one part is obviously shorter than the other. Then I went ahead to cut the facing. I'm still going to make a detailed video on how to cut facing, and this is the band that I placed at the middle of the dress, at the lower part. So because this person, I had a measurement all along. I didn't get, like, I didn't see how to measure the drape on her. I just used this mannequin, but she's a little bit fatter than the mannequin. I just added 3 inches allowance each. I just placed my tape with the way the drape is going to be on the front of her dress. Then I measured along that part, and it was perfect for me. Like, as you can see in the video, I just put the tape through the exact way the drape is going to be on her body. Then I added 3 inches allowance. So after then, I took everything to the sewing machine and then I started sewing. So at this point, I'd already turned the neck. I'd already did the pleat at the middle. Then I stitched it down with that band from the waist down to the the whole length of the dress. So at this point, guys, the dress is already coming together well. Like, this front panel is already looking like what I want it to look like. So after now, I went ahead to sew the back panel. I fixed the zip. I turned it with the facing, and here it is. It's already sewn. I attached my tag to it. Then label, I attached my label. The zip has been neatly fixed, and basically that's it for the back panel. Then I already created the channel where the slit is going to be. I'll just go ahead to finish up the slit with hemming gum, and that's all for the back panel. So moving to the sleeve now, I already shaped the sleeve. It's just to, like, shape the dress and then attach the sleeve to it. Now this is the drape that I will be draping at the front of the dress. These are the 2 pieces. There are 2 pieces already weaved, and I folded it with hemming gum. So the next now is like attaching it to the front panel before, like, shaping. So I'll just pick up the front panel, then I will attach it just the way I want it to look like, exactly the way it is in the picture. So I started with the one that goes from the shoulder to the shaping. So I pinned it down so that when I get to the sewing machine, I'll just run a straight stitch on it, and that was it. So I pleated it a little, just to give it that pleated effect. I pinned it at the shoulder part, and I also pinned it at the shaping side. I have to be sure the dress is properly arranged before I pin, so that there's no form of sagging, or it's too tight, or it's not firm, or whatever. And that was exactly what I did here. I went ahead to pin it for that side. Now the other side too, I did the same thing to it. I pinned it just the way it is in the picture, but the other side is entering the shoulder at the back, so I could not pin that cannot be pinned except I've shaped the dress and attached the sleeve to it. So I just pinned it on the shaping side, and I went ahead to sew the dress together. Like, I shaped the dress, I joined the shoulder, I shaped the dress, I attached my sleeve before I could, sorry, I didn't attach my sleeve, I shaped it. I joined the shoulder, I shaped the dress. It was ready to receive or collect the sleeve before I attached that other part to it. This part that I'm raising up now, before I attached it to it, then I went ahead to fix the hand into it. So guys, after all being said and done, this is the finished look of the dress. It's giving. It's beautiful, neatly and perfectly sewn. Thanks for watching my video from the beginning till this point. If you've not subscribed, please consider doing, and don't just subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you get notified when next I upload a video on this channel. And then please give the video a thumbs up. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks for stopping by once again. I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.